Good morning. My name is Michelle Hilla, and I am the founder of Slingshot Designs. And today I'm going to share some parts of my story. This is a little different for me, but it is the direction that I realize that I need to go in. So it's a little uncomfortable, and I thank you for bearing with me in my journey of growth. And what I do is encourage and inspire others to begin their journey of growth. Let me be very clear here. Whatever your situation and your challenges are, whatever obstacles are in your way right now, if you feel uncomfortable, please, I want you to stop and take a minute and congratulate yourself because you have entered the realm of growth. Growth is never comfortable. If you are comfortable in what you're doing, you are not actually growing. You're just recycling things you already know, maybe incorporating a few other things. And yes, that's growth, but you're not challenging. It's growth of your knowledge, but you're not growing in your experience. Your true kind of connectivity to the planet, to each other, to your business, to your craft, to your profession, whatever it might be. If you're not uncomfortable, you're not growing that. It's a really good KPI or key performance indicator that you are growing is that you feel uncomfortable. So it was very uncomfortable for me the first time I ever turned on a camera. I am not somebody who I felt was designed to do this. And yet, to be honest with you, through my experiences, I've learned that I am the perfect person for this job in a lot of different regards. So I am still learning, I am still growing, and I love that I get to share this with people and inspire others to continue their progress forward as well. So uh, this is really crazy. I've been asked a lot lately, how are you doing this? Like, how did you do this? Your story is so inspirational. One of the biggest things that I changed was I committed to my direction. I committed to the purpose and passion that I discovered that was mine. I designed this, right? A lot of my videos and content talks about designing your own life. And what that looks like for everybody is different, right? The strategy involved, the tools you use, they're all very custom and tailored to your specific situation. So it's difficult for me sometimes to give that general knowledge because it works when you focus it on a specific problem. So I need to know people's goals before I can provide content and ideas on how to get to them. Uh, but anyway, I'm going to back up for a second here. A lot of what I've been hearing has similar chords and similar common themes. So I'm going to talk about some of those common themes. Specifically, I'm going to talk about how they applied in my story. And I like to demonstrate things with first person experience. I don't enjoy talking about things I haven't done before because I can't back it up with a story or an example. So for me, some of the major chords in my tapestry, some of the major things that I worked to improve were I think first and foremost, this is a more of a soft skill, and that would be instead of looking at things like goal setting, when you go to set a goal, it's very formatted and structured, right? And I needed a little bit more inspiration and creativity to that. So one way I layered in is a few different things. First off, I started looking at my life as a story, and I'm the author because that's the truth for everybody. Your life is your story. You determine how things go. You determine, if nothing else, this is goes back to focusing on what you can control. If nothing else, you control the narrative of your story, the lens of which you choose to view the world. Any given situation, any given conversation, any feedback that you get. A lot of times we're subconsciously attracting negative feedback because we have a mindset of scarcity versus abundance. And that will happen because we choose to adopt labels that other people put on us. Let that sink in. Where in your life do you have that? Where in your life do you have uh, that you look at yourself the way that others have defined you? It is not their job to define you, it's your job. That is your job. You're outsourcing the wrong thing. Outsource other areas of your life. Outsource areas of your life that you're not the best person for that job. but you are the best person to define the narrative of your life in the tone that you want to use and in the context that you want to use. So if somebody comes to me and says, Michelle, I think what you do is a joke, it's a farce, it's a hoax, cool. I don't. I don't believe it's a hoax. I don't believe it's a farce. I don't believe it's inconceivable that everybody can feel this way, that everybody can wake up every day knowing what their purpose and passion are and what resources they have to go about it. It didn't take that long. Let me be clear about this. It took me about a year and a half. And let me be crystal clear on this. I didn't have uh, an awful lot of things that would have made it go faster. I didn't have a tribe. I didn't have a lot of people who understood and supported and encouraged me. I didn't have healthy relationships. I didn't have all kinds of things that I had to curate and then make those happen. I didn't do it alone, but I did it. I didn't do it in a void, but I did do it largely alone. I guess I'll put it that way. A million people have tried to help. Not everyone is qualified to help you with where you're at in a given situation. You may not be ready for their help yet, but just simply knowing that there are resources exist out there that can help you with clarity or can help you with mindset. And a lot of times people have no idea what they need help with. Now, I spent a lot of time in that place where I had no idea what it was specifically that I needed help with. And so all these people would offer support. They still do. What can I help you with? Let me be clear about that. Let me be clear about this because I'm on the other side of the table now these days, mostly, not always. But when here's what I changed in that, because how do I put this? Give me a second. Let me process how I'm going to say this. When people come to me for help, I am not in a position to know how to help you until I understand what's happening. So if you have a coach or somebody who says, oh, I can help you with that. Yes, but do you understand what it is that I actually need help with? Because to be fair, a lot of times I don't. And the truth is that the best person to help you is somebody who's going to take the time to listen and understand from your perspective what it's like to be in your shoes. What are your current challenges? And what are the potential ways that you can go about, overcoming those challenges? So that's where this comes into play. That's where what I do comes into play. So I have a number of tools for doing this. I need to circle back and finish a thought. One of those tools that I put into place a few years ago, about 5 years ago now, I switched to one-word New Year's resolutions. To tie this to you are the author of your own story. When you read a story, it's broken down into chapters. So if you think about this, every year of your life as a chapter, then great, use that model. And then you titled the chapter with one word, right? So in 2000, I got to go back here and remember, and I'll include I have a graphic for this. I'll include the graphic that breaks down the years and what those resolutions were. Excuse me, but 2020 for me is my New Year's resolution was redemption, and it doesn't. 2019 was forgiveness. 2019 was forgiveness. 2018 was grace. And I'm not remembering what 2017 was. So those are chronological for a reason. I needed to learn grace before I could learn forgiveness. It takes tremendous grace to be able to forgive somebody or forgive yourself. Forgiving yourself is a huge one. And you have to be able to have grace before you can forgive yourself. You need to be able to forgive yourself before you can forgive others, right? And you need to have those down before you can seek redemption. And to be fair, I didn't know a lot about grace. I didn't know a lot about forgiveness. I knew about it from the kind of influences in my life and through my experiences, but there's so much of a broader definition there that is not included in my experience. So you don't know what you don't know. And so by making it a chapter title and an annual chapter title in your lifelong book, then you spend that year, or I'll go back to me, I spent that year just being open to it everywhere, learning from it, practicing it, applying it, repeat. And just one word. I didn't get specific with what that needed to look like, right? It was my year of forgiveness. It was my year of grace. In 2020, for anybody who has followed me at all, knows that this is my year of redemption. So I don't claim to know exactly what that looks like. I know that that incorporates my business, that that incorporates my personal life. I know that, you know, all of my goals and objectives from the years past have generally all come to fruition. And that's laws of attraction that are there. Where your thoughts and your priorities are is exactly what you're going to bring into your life. And no matter how much spiritually this exists and has existed in our society for a very, very long time, if that doesn't appeal to you, and if you can't wrap your head around the concept that way, then choose to look at it through data and AI. Maybe that will help. You know, like it's now more than ever is the law of attraction enacted, because even as simple as I had a conversation about a specific certification that I was looking at, and within 20 minutes it was on my social media accounts and advertising, right? So it exists. Solutions will come to you. And I know that that's a pet peeve to a lot of people. It's certainly a pet peeve to me as well. I look at that and big data, big data. This isn't a platform for that, but I agree with that feeling. I know what that feeling is like. I'm not saying it's always positive, but it's also not always negative. Sometimes we get those answers that come through synthetic means, and it's not really my job to say, no, you can't have it that way. Like, that's not our jobs as humans on this planet. Our jobs as humans on this planet is to continue with the journey of being human. What is your story supposed to be about? You choose. You're the author, not me. Like, I know what my story is supposed to be about. I seek to empower a great many people through education, collaboration, and innovation. It took me 6 months to come up with that sentence. 6 months trying to crunch those words. Is it really education? Is it really collaboration? What do I mean by innovation? What is the right order for this? Is it in the right order? Who am I going to educate? It took me 6 months to come up with one sentence. So it's not this glorified massive process, right? It takes time. And Will Smith does a video about, or there's an interview with Will Smith out there. You can Google this and it's on YouTube, um, where he talks about the experience of building a brick wall, him and his brother building a brick wall with their dad. And that he learned in that experience, it's brick by brick, one brick by one brick, right? And, you know, everybody can relate to that in some way or fashion. It's a very, just a systematic, small process or task. Uh, Everybody has that in their life, right? In their story. For me, that, I guess, my probably most directly relatable experience, it was I stacked wood a lot as a kid, and I hated it. A lot of things about my childhood that I wasn't a big fan of that I now, all I do is extract lessons from them. So there's an awful lot of lessons in your childhood that are worth tapping into now as an adult and reapplying those lessons without the lens of frustration, right? So you choose what lens you use to view the world. Um, I think a big one after that is learning to scale, learning to say, um, this happened to me and I had experience in this. Where else can I apply that? What happens if I grow that idea? What happens if I shrink that idea, right? Like, what would that look like on a 2-person team? What would that look like on a 500-person team? Um, if you're a job seeker and you need to network right now, Who do I know locally? Who do I know regionally? Who do I know globally? Do you know where you're focusing your job search effort at? Do you know where you're growing your business at? Do you know internally within your business, do you know which directions you're taking are working, right? So these are the types of questions that help you scale and help you understand that, hey, if I implement this in my life today, here's where I can expect it's going to manifest. Here's where I can expect to see results. And those are all very personal decisions and very like internal conversation we need to have with ourselves, right? So be very honest with yourself about that. So I guess the large one, the last thing I want to do is a bit of a deeper dive into forgiveness, because it has been a consistent theme throughout my weeks, throughout my conversations, and most definitely today. It's been very consistent. Forgiveness is a big one. So I do want to share this, because you know what, this is a good one. This is a good way to wrap this up. Rather than diving deep into forgiveness, I'm going to give you a key that worked for me, and it can also be applied to scaling and everything else. I'm not going to teach anything groundbreaking here, but perhaps the way I say it and the way I explain it will resonate with something that you've heard plenty of in your lifetime. The number one tool to doing anything that I talk about, the number one thing that I teach a client is how to become objective. And I don't mean objective like a member of a jury or who else would be kind of in that middle ground. I don't know many people who reach the level of objectivity I'm talking about here. And again, scaling has a lot to do with this. You practice small, you scale it big. And with objectivity in particular, this was the first lesson I ever learned in life. Again, learning to tell your story, here's how I tell mine. When I was a kid, my grandmother, who's still to this day my favorite woman on the planet, and she said to me often as a child, she would say, Michelle, pretend like you're a bird flying high over the situation. What do you see? And this would be in things like an argument with my friends, or I don't feel like my parents understand me, or whatever else it is that an 8-year-old goes through. And that was always her response. It was her default response. But she said it with care and compassion and slowly, so I would kind of understand the words as they were coming out of her mouth. And it resonated. It's obviously it struck a chord. Obviously it's still with me, right? But that is the number one rule, tip, trick, fundamental belief, and certainly skill that is required to make bold, daring, courageous, innovative changes in your life is objectivity. Can you view yourself the way the rest of the world sees you and be okay with that? And be okay with it not being okay with it yet. Can you do that? Because that is the first step. If you can learn to truly look at your life like an unfinished, a rough draft, right? Your job is to go back in and edit it, fine tune it, move this around over here. Maybe this, instead of this word, we use this word, right? That is your job, is to rewrite the narrative in your life. If you can do that, or I guess I'll put it this way, before you can do that, you need to reach this level of objectivity, higher, significantly higher. You need to be a bird flying high over the situation. What do you see? When you look down, you will see a scene laid out in front of you that does not have grief, shame, blame. It doesn't have emotions attached to it. Before I publish this, I need to get permission from the person who shared this with me to make sure that she's okay with it. And it's still going to be an anonymous quote. But one of the most profound things came to me today through conversation, and it sums this up the best way I can possibly, the most eloquent way I've ever heard, for something that we all struggle with. She said to me, Michelle, my emotions have been, no, my emotions have hijacked my intelligence. And it's so true, because we let our labels of other people, we let our expectations from other people, we let all of these external influences cloud our intelligence. And then we stop counting on, not that a lot of us never have, but when we stop being held captive to other people's perceptions, and we start to find a way to have faith and the courage to trust our own instincts. So when you can separate that, when you can say, I am not going to let my emotions hijack my intelligence today. I guess I'll end with that, because that is one heck of a place to start and end, right? The key to that is objectivity. So I ask of you this, like, do not let your emotions hijack your intelligence today. So my name is Michelle Hoa. I'm the founder of Slingshot Designs. And until next time, everybody, please take care of yourselves and your neighbors.